So, hello, Dr. Sam.
Hello, Drew.
So, you did it again. You wrote another book.
Yes, I did, Drew.
So, the
I
last
wrote
time
it
we
from my
connected was
heart.
your book, Dear Leader. Phenomenal. And now you've written another book, Shifts.
Mhm.
And I was honored enough when you asked me to write the testimonial for the book. And I just want to say, it's brilliant. And what I love about it is I love its brilliance in its simplicity to really have an impact on people. And also, your personal stories really brought the book to life for me. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Drew. Thank you for
Yeah.
writing endorsement for the book.
Yeah, it was really my pleasure. I was actually surprised as I was going through it. I love the way that it's formatted, actually, even because it makes it very simple to kind of walk you through, every place that you may be stuck it as a leader, right? And I loved that, and I thought it would be useful today
Mhm.
to kind of go through those different steps of the 6 steps. And I thought that would be super useful for our listeners. But
Right.
before that, I'd really love to know big picture. Why did you write this book? I mean, you've been working with leaders and causing transformation and impact on the planet for like 30 years. Why this book?
Thank you, Drew. I wrote this book because I've been on radio. I got on radio 30 years ago. I,
Yes.
I got on TV a few years later. I know I've spoken to millions of people, but I cannot say that most people have been able to apply the principles I've been sharing. So I've
Mm,
come to the conclusion that most transformation efforts fail. For
mm,
example, when we were coming into this year, a lot of people made New Year resolutions.
right.
I think a lot of those resolutions have had accidents already. In other words, they've
Yeah. I love the way that you say it. Yes, they've already had accidents.
right?
I
So,
love it. Yes.
so this is
Yes.
the passion that drove me to write this book because I then had to
Mm,
look at my own life
mm,
and find out how have I been able to translate dreams to realities.
mm,
So SHIFT is actually an acronym for my
mm.
transformation methodology. And you mentioned the simplicity of the language.
Yeah.
Yes. It's also because I am on a campaign to demystify leadership.
Mm,
Once you say leader or leadership, people's minds go to the people that occupy positions at the high level.
mm,
Now, I have studied leadership up to the doctoral level, and the definition has changed. It's not just about positions. Leadership is the ability to influence one or more people to achieve goals. Once you bring
mm,
the definition down to influence, then you realize it happens at all levels. And then you
yeah.
realize most people don't build and use their influence. That's
Mm.
why I made the language simple so the average person can read it, discover their leadership potential, and unleash that potential.
So go through the acronym. Let's start with the acronym.
The S in shifts stands for C.
Mm,
And this is the principle that whatever you see consistently over time will enter your heart. The way
mm,
we humans have been designed, when something stays long enough in your mind, especially when it's repetitive, your mind moves it to your subconscious to free the mind to address fresh issues, fresh problems,
mm,
fresh challenges. When something goes into the subconscious, it goes automatic.
mm,
We call it habit. We call it second nature. You don't really need to think about it with your conscious mind. It just takes on a life of its own. And we found out that subconscious mind, which some people also call heart, is so powerful, it overrides many things. So one of the major reasons why people's New Year resolutions don't work is because the goals they set don't align with their programming, don't align
mm.
with the things in their subconscious. So the famous management expert Peter Drucker is usually quoted to have said that culture will eat your strategy for breakfast.
Mm.
It's like your habits will eat your goals for breakfast. That- right?
I love that. Yes.
So
So it's interesting. So how do you get, because we generally just see what's around us in our current circumstances. So what do you recommend leaders do to actually see beyond that?
thank you. So I say that vision is a major requirement, major quality for a leader. I define
Mm,
vision as the ability to see people, places, and things not just the way they are, but the way they could be.
mm,
Not just the way they are, but the way they could be. Because the essence of leadership is change, it's improvement, it's
mm,
movement. So you can actually close your eyes and use your imagination to see things in a better way.
mm,
My recommendation is you can also employ your physical eyes, that you can give your eyes something to see that is different from your current reality.
mm,
In the book, I share my stories about how I write goals on plain sheets of paper and stick them on the wall near my bed.
mm.
I write checks to myself. I pull checks, check leaves from the checkbook. I write my name on it. I write a figure I've never gotten before and stick it
Yeah.
on the wall, right? I print pictures off from the internet and I stick them on the wall.
Mm,
Share in the book my stories. It's amazing the way it's worked. That if I keep those pictures there long enough, they become my reality. Somehow they
yeah.
program me on the inside. And once those pictures are there, this is the way we humans are designed to relate with nature. Whatever picture stays long enough there, it will attract or create its material equivalent.
It's kind of like, I really love it, kind of like a living vision board, because I know so many people will create a vision board and then they stick it in the closet. Right? It's the same thing as the New Year's resolutions. So
Right?
I really I love that, like, on your wall. And I love the idea of adding things to it and then removing things as they kind of manifest. It's really beautiful. It's really great.
Thank you.
Great suggestion.
That is my story. So I have sheets of paper that I've taken off and new ones I've written. In fact, I have one here. I found it in one of my files. I wrote this, it was 2001. Okay.
Wow.
I was, I wanted cars, one for me and one for my wife.
Yeah.
And the deadline was December 2001. 2001 was some 23, 24 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And this one actually became reality. I wrote the date that it became a reality in 2002. It didn't even take long.
Wow. Uh, it's really incredible, because I think that, I see a lot of people talking about vision boards over there, like I say, but it's very static. And then it's not and then you don't get the acknowledgement now. You get the acknowledgement of, great, you had that vision, you did it, you accomplished it. That's really extraordinary. That's
Right.
great. Great advice.
Thank you.
Next, we come to H.
Good. So H stands for hear.
Mm,
It's the same principle. Whatever you hear consistently over time will go into your subconscious. It will enter your heart. Uh, Rick Warren, the author of The Purpose Driven Life, said, the heart of the matter is a matter of the heart.
mm, I love that.
What really makes the difference between people is heart.
Mm,
People want to create changes in their lives and they want to, fix things, fix the things around them. And I'm saying, no, 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 no. You go inside first, bring that, unpack that subconscious, bring it out to the conscious level. Ask yourself, why do I think the way I think?
mm,
Why do I respond to situations this way? And then decide the new programming you need. Then make sure you're hearing the same thing over and over. Years ago, I would buy audio tapes, right, from the speakers that inspire me. And I will
mm,
listen to a particular audio tape. I'll just put it on replay, auto replay, either in my car or in the bedroom. and I would listen to, I'm sure I listened to some cassettes then, right? At least 50 times. There are some I think
Wow.
must have listened over 100 times. Yes,
Mm.
I was programming, right? So I'm saying be intentional about it. The things you watch on YouTube, this is the principle that undergirds everything. Whatever you see and hear consistently over time will enter your heart. So I'm saying be intentional about what you see, about what you hear continually. It may seem to be free, but they're changing your life.
Yeah, one of the things I loved that you talk about is really cultivating an environment to support your leadership. And I think that's really remarkable because we we kind of go unconscious about what we're actually seeing, what we're hearing, and we only pay attention to like what we're hearing. We're not paying attention to the unsaid. There's just so much there in cultivating an environment that really nurtures your leadership. And I hadn't really thought about that until you and I chatted about the importance of that if you really want to be a true leader.
Absolutely. So actually, I apply these principles first to the individual, yes, but I also apply them to the organization or to teams. Now, I have this habit of breaking up words to try to understand them better where it's possible. So I ask,
Mm,
so that thing that goes in through your eyes and ears, what do you call it? It's information.
yeah.
That's why I say, okay, you break up the word, what do you have? You have in and you have formation.
Mm,
So whatever is going
wow.
in there is forming you. So
Mm,
your business actually describes that, knows that, actually rests on this fact. This is
mm,
what makes the media powerful
yeah.
because it affects what we see and hear. It influences.
Yes.
This is what makes education possible, powerful. When we go to school, we see and hear. This is what makes music powerful. This is what makes the entertainment industry powerful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it's why we created, our company is to get up under people like you that have something really amazing to say to the world. Because we know if we change what the media is talking about, it changes what we are talking about and it changes our world.
Yes, sir. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's really amazing. And I love that I never really thought about that I thought about it in as an individual and I thought about that for myself, but I never thought about that as an organization and an organization creating environments for leadership to show up inside of their companies.
Absolutely.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I actually wrote steps there in the book, how you should talk about your vision, repeat it over and over
Yep.
and over. The what the atmosphere, what the environment looks like, your facilities, the colors, everything, what your people see, including your training system in-house, the external training your people go for, and even travel.
Hmm, that's great. So now what we see and what we hear,
Mhm.
there's another step.
Yeah.
Insight,
Inside, that's the I.
the I.
This is the idea that you need to take those things you're seeing and hearing and to do deep reflection on them.
Hmm.
You need to do meditation. You need to think deeply. When you do, you will recognize patterns.
Hmm.
You will recognize your mind will be making connections, cause and effect connections. Okay, so it's because I did this. That is why that happened.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay, so to repeat that result, all I need to do is to repeat this particular action, right?
Yes.
So, so that's insight. The other word for insight is understanding.
Yes.
And I believe that application of principles is difficult if there is no understanding of how the principle works.
Yes.
Good. So I studied as a civil engineer, okay?
Hmm.
So every time I see a building, however beautiful it is, however tall it is, wisdom tells me there's a part of it I cannot see.
Mm,
And that part that I cannot see actually controls the one that I can see, the
mm,
foundation, right? It determines how high the building is going to go, what load it can carry. So, so I realize that for phenomena, every situation, every circumstance, there's an invisible part to it. There's a principle that is controlling something. So that's what I seek to find out, because once I can understand the principle, then I can recreate the experience over and over and over. That's what the I is
it's,
about.
it's really, really brilliant because it actually explains why information alone makes no difference.
Thank you. Exactly.
That's really, and before we started the interview, you were sharing about your really commitment to simplify, to actually have impact, to really cause transformation, because a lot of people get stopped and stuck. And I love how you've done the steps and you can see the pitfalls of each. And I just got it in this one, like the pitfalls of we get addicted to knowing, and
Hmm.
it just gets us, it stops us, right, about because we don't see the connections of the dots, and you
Ah,
can't make the true difference you want to be, just like you're brilliant sharing about being a civil engineer, right? If you don't know how the houses or the buildings are built and you just see the beautiful structure, you
right.
can't duplicate that. You can't build yourself other beautiful buildings. It's just you don't have you don't have, as you said, the knowledge. You may have the information, but you don't have the knowledge.
Oh, thank you, Drew. You,
That
you
was brilliant.
explained
Yeah.
it in a brilliant way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't move on to duplicating, to replicating results
Yeah.
until you really understand, And these days we have so much information overload, we don't
Yes.
have time to think, to meditate, to reflect.
Yes. And I can see why, how this is so important, which leads us to the next step, which is the F, which is the formulation. Because with those things in place, then I think what you have and you can have is, which I've been guilty of in my business, is
Right.
I call overly creative disorder, where I just have really great ideas and really great
Oh.
innovations and all of this stuff.
Mm,
But if the knowledge isn't there, the pieces aren't there, you just kind of spin your wheel and you get stuck in that.
absolutely. So with understanding, you make decisions. That's
Mm,
what formulate level is about. You make decisions. I tell people it is your decisions, not your condition, that determine your destiny. You
mm,
make up your mind. So without knowledge and without understanding, you find a lot of people are unable to decide. In
mm,
fact, a lot of people are waiting for the conditions to be favorable, to be perfect before they decide. And I say, no, it doesn't work like that. It's actually
mm,
when you decide, when you make up your
mm.
mind. It's like life has been designed that way to make room for the person whose mind is made up.
Yeah.
So I say, when you don't make decisions, you're like a wheelbarrow. You only go as far as other people push you. You just live your life fulfilling other people's decisions. So you need to, after getting the insight on how things work, then you decide on what you need to change. Okay,
Mm,
okay. So this is not going to get me, this behavior is not going to get me the results that I want.
yes.
Okay, so you then decide to do something new. And then when you practice that, it becomes a habit. So, but the starting point
Mm,
is that decision making. The
mm,
human mind is designed in an amazing way. When you've made up your mind on what, it kind of begins to scan to
mm.
find the how it will
Yeah.
happen. Exactly.
That's really great. And the next is we move on to really being in action, right? Once you've formulated, you get into transformation.
Thank you. Now that's a big dimension, Drew. That's a big
Mm,
dimension because most people actually don't act on what they know. It's
mm,
Write down, even organizations don't actually act on most of what they know. Like you said, a lot of creative ideas, but if we don't execute, what's going to happen? So I read a book titled The Knowing Doing Gap, written by two Stanford professors. And they found out that a lot of organizations don't execute the advice given them by consultants.
Mm.
So,
Yep.
so they mentioned a company that brought in some consultants. The consultants discovered that there had been other consultants before them. So they requested if they could see the reports from the previous consultants and found out the consultants had been saying the same thing, but this company had never done anything.
Mm.
So they said, our recommendation is that you should do what the previous consultants told you to do.
Oh. And here's our bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love that. That's really
So,
great. Why
there
do
was,
you think,
hmm,
so why do you think that is? What have you discovered?
right. Um, Several reasons. First, fear,
Hmm.
the fear of uncertainty, the point that there actually is nothing that ever fully guarantees you things will work out right.
Hmm.
So that potential for failure, which also has the potential for success, some
Hmm.
people focus on the failure and it paralyzes them completely.
Hmm.
Has to do with your attitude as a person. Are you positive or are you negative in your uh, perception of life? I, I usually use the glass cup illustration in my teachings. Some would say the glass is half full, some would say it's half empty.
Hmm.
And I say, so some people focus on the emptiness in life. They focus on what they don't have, who they don't know, they focus on the negative. And what you focus on is what expands.
Hmm.
Actually, then you begin to get insights there, bigger insights, deep insights on why it's not going to work, and it paralyzes. And some people focus on the fullness. So even if
Hmm.
the cup is 10% full, some people still focus on what they have. And the more they focus on it, the more they discover the possibilities in it. It's amazing. Then you find out what really changes your life is not the resources at your disposal, it's your resourcefulness. It's the creativity
Hmm.
that you can bring to what you have, and you can get what you want from what you have. So some people are plainly paralyzed from their minds and their thinking and their processing. Some of
Hmm.
them are paralyzed by past trauma. The point actually is they've tried before and they failed before. And the emotional experience was not easy at all. So whenever they want to try, the memory just paralyzes them. And what
Hmm.
they need to know is that it's the way life works. Things usually don't work out perfectly the first time, period. They taught us that in school. They took us into the lab, and whatever we did, they said it was experiment. Hmm. So we already knew experiment means it's a trial. Okay.
Hmm.
A trial. So why do we grow into adults and then expect things to work perfectly the first time or the second time? Practically everything that's been invented, they tried so many times before those
Hmm.
things came out. So what we need there is persistence. But some people have been so demoralized that they don't want to try anymore. And then
Hmm.
some others, like I said, there is fear, and there are different kinds of fear. For some, there's the fear of criticism. What are people going to say? If this doesn't work out, oh my God, they're going to kill me, right? They're going to finish me up. They're going to take my story on social media around and all that. And they're so concerned about what people will say. I say to such people, if you succeed, people are going to talk. If you don't succeed, people are going to talk. Why don't you give them what to talk about? Live your
Yeah.
life. Live your life.
Yeah. And do you find, so I just thought about this, I don't know. So if you're stuck in that area of transformation, is it that you go back to the S and go back through? Like if you find that you're stuck, do you then go, do you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you see you're stuck in the fear, you see life, it's not transforming. Do you then go back up and kind of go through the other layers until you move on to the next layer, which we will get to in a minute.
Thank you. Thank you, Drew. Actually, that's a very, very good solution to the problem.
Mm,
Because it means you need to change what you're seeing and hearing.
Yeah, I got that in the moment. Like I got you it occurs because I think people, they know they're stuck, but then it's okay, what do you do about that? And then as you say, they just stop. They're beaten down. But if there's a framework, then you go back up and you just go down the framework back to the transformation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One strong recommendation I'm going to make is the need to have mentors. So when
Hmm.
you have someone who's actually already achieved what you're trying to achieve,
Hmm.
they save you time, they save you effort, they reduce the amount of experimenting that you do because they've actually done the experimenting on your behalf and they can tell you what will work and what will not work. Secondly,
Hmm.
the fact that they have done it does something to
Hmm.
your brain because
Hmm.
practically always they don't have two heads. They don't have 10
Yeah.
hands or 10 legs. Human beings like you. So just looking at them tells you, I can do it. I can do it. Even if it doesn't work perfectly the way it worked for them, but at least you know you're closer to what works when you're
Hmm.
coached or mentored by someone who's done it before.
I- this is brilliant. I'd never thought about this before, but yes, it's through your framework, right? It expedites it because you see things quicker, you hear things quicker, you have different insights quicker. Like it just moves you through the steps, the roadmap so much quicker to have someone there
Yeah,
that has been there rather than doing it on your own. I never thought about that in relationship to mentors. So that's absolutely brilliant. And then, of course, mentors make a huge difference in the last part, succeed.
absolutely. Absolutely. You take action, you try long enough, then you succeed. And you see, we decided to make the acronym shifts so that succeeding as a leader would not be a one-time occurrence.
Mm,
So this now includes succeeding repeatedly. So you just keep iterating, keep going through that loop, keep
yeah.
going through the steps over and over, creating bigger dimensions of success, shifting to higher levels, setting bigger goals, and it also includes succession.
Mm,
That
mm,
your legacy
brilliant.
to a large extent determines your success. If you do something, you exit and everything collapses, it actually takes away from your success. So we say, and we're discussing leadership, right? Which means it's not only about your success, you're actually empowering other people to be successful. So the moment you occupy a role, in fact, the moment you get into a role, you should start thinking of what will happen after you exit.
Mm,
So you think legacy as a
mm,
leader. What do they say when you leave the room? Now, right? What will they say when you leave the role? And ultimately, what will they say when you leave this life? And it's better to think about that now. And Harvard professor Edward Banfield made a discovery some decades ago that he called the law of time perspective. The
mm,
longer the time, he just found out people who think long term always succeed more than the people that think short term.
mm,
He found out it's a
that's
law,
brilliant.
right?
Mm,
And Stephen R. Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said, begin with the end in mind,
mm,
right?
yep.
So we encourage long-term thinking, even beyond your lifetime, because that helps you to create success that now even lasts across generations.
Well, when I sat down, I thought of the end of this conversation in mind, and you've delivered in spades. So, what I really wanted to deliver was really valuable and useful insights for people, and you've done that. And I just really want to acknowledge you. I think what you've done is the framework you've created, the blueprint, the roadmap is just extraordinary for fulfilling on what you want to fulfill on. And that's really helping people to be leaders, to have impact in the world. And it's very clear that you thought this through thoroughly and meticulously created this framework, which I think is so useful and valuable and simple. And I learned so much myself. Been through the book, I've been through your material, and today I got these insights. I hadn't seen the going through the iteration piece of it before, and the different areas where you're stuck, and then you go back to that. It is really like a roadmap for success, and I really appreciate that. So, where should people go to find this book and find out more about you or connect with you?
Thank you, Drew. I just had the blessing of being published, having this book being published by a major global publisher, John
Mm,
Wiley and Sons.
yep.
The distribution is global, so the book is available on a lot of online retail stores from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and a lot of bookshops. And it's being retailed by major bookstores and supermarkets, including Walmart and Target, and at the major bookshops in Europe, in the UK, in Australia. It's available everywhere. So even if
I love it. Yeah, just it's everywhere,
it's
period.
everywhere, right? Thank you.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation. As always, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Drew. I really appreciate this.